Hello everybody and welcome to the season finale of the WRL Group 4 series. We are here live at a very dark Sardegna raceway here on the B layout. I of course am your commentator for today, NS Zokyo. Been a pleasure again to be joining you guys. Should be some fantastic racing. Hope you are all excited. Of course, season finale day. The championship decided last time out, of course. Mulkey taking top honours there. We do have some more standings to go through in a bit, but of course, series organizer Heisenberger that you can see, of course, Italian, and very fitting to go back to an Italian circuit for said season finale. Such an interesting circuit as well is the Sardegna B layout. We'll sure be doing some onboard laps with qualifying getting underway in hopefully not overly long. We'll have to see, but back again going to the standings. It's been a very well fought championship throughout the entirety of the season. In the end, it was Mulkey taking the driver's title with 129 points going into this weekend over Heisenberger, their closest challenger, on 94. Tazio on 93 points, 1 point separating positions second and third in the championship, and Tombak as well, who is here in that Lamborghini. They are also in that hunt. They're on 81 points. Racing Pro joining the lobby. RPM, teammate to championship winning Mulkey, they are on 79 points, and with the recent drives they've been having, making it 1-2 for Citroen Scotland team. Or Citroen Team Scotland. It says Citroen Scotland team on the team sheet. I'm gonna go with that. So again, they've been climbing up the leaderboard. They're currently in 5th. Quaj, they are in 6th at the moment on the standing, 61 points. Hobbsy in 7th. Iverslov 8th. Liner 9th. Basalvo in 10th. 18 Ghost in 11th. Real Scorpions 12th. Maru in 13th, and Racing Pro down in 14th. But as far as the teams championships are concerned, it is Citroen Scotland team leading the standings, 203 points between them. I believe that might also have been enough to take the championship last time out. Nevertheless, Lamborghini Racing, they are on 142 points going into this weekend, and the McLaren WRL team with the likes of Heisenberger, there they are, and Basalvo of course as well, their teammate. They currently stand 3rd in the standings, could potentially leapfrog Lamborghini Racing if they have a really good race. They're on 123 points, that is around 19, I want to say. Yep, 19 points behind Lamborghini. Alpha Corsa, I was expecting them to have a few more points. They're standing at 4th in the championship at the moment, with of course the likes of Tazio, one of the most impressive drivers we've seen throughout this season. The Honda Design Racing, they are on 84 points, so only 10 points behind the Alfa Romeo team. Ferrari SD1, they are on 42 points. Porsche Gulf Racing sit on 8 points as it stands. RPM currently with the fastest time in practice. At least they're just parking up, going back to the garage. Heisenberger looking quite good at the moment. Both of the McLarens actually looking very solid so far in this practice session. Not too far off the time of the Citroen driver. Haven't really seen Mulkey set a time yet. Never mind, we just have. Not as fast as their teammate. Or they must have said it earlier, however they just come out onto circuit, that's why it's just registered. So it's still Citroen's dominating the scene at the moment. The McLaren's looking a very, very strong challenger to potentially take that second spot in the Teams Championship from Lamborghini. I was trying to think who would be in the Lamborghini team. I believe it would be Tombok and Quaj, but Quaj not here. We have a Mazda in the form of Racing Pro with the Rich Energy sponsorship along the side. Don't recall actually seeing the Mazda in this series before, so it's going to be interesting to see how well it does. Perhaps suffers from a bit of the Bugatti syndrome with it being quite heavy. Again, we'll have to see. I'm going to go on board with them as they climb this hill. See some of the windmills located around the fields that the circuit is based in. Now, with it being as dark as it is as qualifying just about gets started, you got to think the tyres and the actual track surface are going to have quite a difficult time heating up, so grip is going to be at a premium, and that is going to matter all the more as qualifying gets underway. Here we are. Eisenberger leading them out. Racing soft tyres for them as they let Mulkey go. Going to be some exciting racing coming up shortly. It's 30 laps from what I have heard, so it's going to be plenty of content to go for here. In terms of actual lap times, I will have to see what these guys can produce. I don't think everyone has shown their full pace as of yet. But what we can gauge in practice, the McLarens are looking quite strong. Perhaps the Ferrari as well of Leinert could be in the mix. Tazio as well in the Alfa Romeo could be quite strong. Being quite lightweight, would not struggle as much going up and down the hills. And it's actually going to be Tazio leading the pack as they go on to their first qualifying lap. We're going to go on board with the Italian, making the way around the final corner and onto the start-finish straight. Here is a lap of the Sardegna Raceway B layout. Of course, uphill, slight kink to the left as you approach turn 1. It's actually a downhill approach, so very easy to outbrake yourself. That was just a little bit too much ambition there from Tazio, and he's actually looped it. Leinert very nearly running into him. We're going to go on board with Leinert now as they make their way through this turn 3 and now up towards 4. This is where the track starts getting a bit crazy with the elevation. Certainly a factor on this circuit. And then the banking here going through turn 5, this sort of hairpin, and carrying a fair bit of speed through there. Then the downhill section as you go into the canyon. Fantastic to see the cars plunge down there. Then another heavy braking zone of this right angle turn. Again, another one to easily outbrake yourselves at, as Leinert demonstrates. On board with Racing Pro, they've also gone off. Real Scorpions just about managing to hold on. Oh, they've been blocked slightly, and off the circuit they go. It's all a bit chaotic at the moment in qualifying. I think Racing Pro's gone off again. Now this sort of mini section is very similar to a section on Dragon Trails Gardens layout, where it's multi-apex, and then this short blast down the straight as Real Scorpions continues to let cars go by, and then this little flick back onto the start-finish straight. As the first times are being set, Leinard with a 1 minute 40.0, Tombak with a 1:27.1, Real Scorpions a 1:36.1, Basalva 1:26.2. That takes them to the top of the timing sheets for now. Tazio a 1:51.1. But a lot of these guys have had their laps messed up. Heisenberger a 1:47.3, and they were a bit further down in the pack, so perhaps there's been some more infighting going on. Iverslov, they managed a 1 minute 28.7. That's good enough for third at the moment, so Iverslov looking quite good. Although a lot of the guys yet to get a clean lap in. Still got over half the session to go. It's currently the McLaren of Basalvo that's managed to get the cleanest lap out of everyone. Braking as they make their way up the hill again. Some of these braking zones around this layout are so challenging as Basalvo just clips the gravel on the outside. Perhaps the slipstream down towards turn 1 as well could be a key, not only in qualifying but during the race as well. Good overtaking spot, heavy braking zone. As those Leinard, I think, just getting out of the way of Basalvo. Basalvo's going to have a great run down the straight with that slipstream from the Porsche. Tombak a 1:26.8 improves. Real Scorpions improves a 1:28.4. Tazio 1:26.9. So that puts Real Scorpions 4th, Tazio 3rd. Jumping Iverslov, bit of a slide there from Real Scorpions. Porsche's still a couple seconds off the pace at the moment. As Iverslov betters their time, they move up to 4th in that Honda NSX, the bright purple machine. Not looking as bright today with it being so dark. Nevertheless, they did a 1:27.8, and that is good enough for 4th at the moment. Some other cars were expecting to improve. The likes of Heisenberger didn't manage to... this is an outlap. That would explain why we haven't seen improvement from them after being 21 seconds down. So they may have picked up some kind of damage, or maybe just getting fresher tyres. Perhaps clean tyres again. We've been noting that across various different series as well. Basalvo's still looking quite comfortable. They got a 6/10 gap. Where on earth are the Citroens in all of this? The best Citroen, I believe, is 9th at this stage. Indeed it is, 9th and 10th from RPM and Mulkey respectively, as Tombak improves their time again. That's a 1:26.5, puts them within 2/10 of Basalvo. Not quite enough to upstage the Italian. Racing Pro improves with a 1:28.4. Is it just going to be a case of people not being able to get clean laps in, and the grid being very shuffled as we head to the race? We'll have to see. 3 minutes to go in the session. It is Basalvo still on top. Tombak now 2nd with Tazio 3rd. Mulkey top of the timing sheets. I think that was the first clean lap for the Citroen driver, and indeed goes 1.2 seconds faster than Basalvo. Runs a little bit deep into turn 1, but that is a really impressive time. So the Citroens again asserting their dominance. Heisenberger still yet to set a good lap of their own. I think they're on one now. So perhaps that was Mulkey just getting out of the way. Also there you see RPM yet to set a proper time. As Tombak goes into the pits, it's going to be cutting it close with getting another lap in after the outlap. Real Scorpions improves their time. That's a 1:27.5. That puts them 5th. That jumps them ahead of Iverslov, who is down in 6th. Will Tombak be able to get in? I think they will be able to get this outlap done and get on to another lap. So smart call, although they are on mediums, and some of the other cars we saw earlier were on the soft compound tyre, like Mulkey. Line had improved their time to a 1:35.9, not in the ballpark yet, as Heisenberger goes second fastest with the 1:25.7, the only car within a second of Mulkey's time at the moment. They'll be giving a bit of a slipstream to RPM behind us. There's yellow flags up ahead. We're gonna have to go on board to see who it was. I think that is Leinard. Yep, the Ferrari stopped and they were in the way on the racing line, pretty much parked. And that has unfortunately ruined Heisenberger's attempted lap. Here it is again, with Leinard going really, really slow. Not quite sure what the cause of that was. They don't have damage. So they were just all parked on the racing line. That was a bit odd. 20 seconds to go left in the session. We're going to be seeing the final times being set. Basalvo on a lap. They could improve, certainly. One driver that really needs to get a move on is RPM. Will they be able to get themselves up the order? They're not going to be able to get onto another lap after this. It's make or break. Ivaslov improves 1:26.2, 1:26.1 for RPM. That puts them third. So they did manage to get a lap in the end. The likes of Ivaslov still on a lap. So I believe Ivaslov will be the last to cross the line. Mulkey already across the line as well. Now will Heisenberger be able to do anything? No, they lost time, of course, from that collision. Just monitoring some of the others. Tazio right on the back bumper of Basalvo. Look at that, using all the slipstream he can have as the McLaren came across. Improvement for Tazio, that puts them still 7th, 1:26.5, and I think it is just Ivaslov yet to cross the line. The Flying Dutchman making his way across. It might be an improvement. It is an improvement of 1:26.192. Here are your results. And we now prepare to get the race underway. If you're enjoying the stream so far, be sure to leave a like, consider subscribing. Here is your grid for the finale of the World Racing League Group 4 Championship. We have Mulkey on pole, our championship winner. Heisenberger, their closest challenger, in second. RPM third, teammate of Mulkey and team's champion as well. Ivaslov in fourth in the Honda. Basalvo, teammate of Heisenberger, in fifth. Tombach in the Lamborghini, they will be in sixth. Tazio in the Alfa Romeo in seventh. Real Scorpions in the Porsche eighth. We're about to get things underway then at Sardegna Raceway. It's green, 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 and the cars are off. Lights out, and away we go. And many other phrases as well. There's a car that has really dropped off from the start. Who's that? Racing Pro hasn't got moving as the cars make their way through turn one. No one able to really make any moves as of yet, despite the straight. Although they were launched halfway down it. Mulkey with the bumper sticker, catch me if you can. Heisenberger with that in clear view, doing his best to stick with him. Things getting very, very juicy as they plunge down into the canyon. Will Heisenberger go for it in this corner? No, thinks better of it, goes over the curb. As RPM goes wide, Ivaslov goes wider. It's going to have to be a safe rejoin from them. And look at this as Tombak goes around the outside, Basalvo as well. Ivaslov from 4th place, really losing loads and loads of positions. They're down to 6th now, very nearly came under attack from Tazio as well. As they're making their way onto the start-finish straight again. We're going to go rear wing cam if we can. There we go. Thank you, keyboard. Already a 5/10 gap between Heisenberger and Mulkey, so without a massive lunge, Heisenberger won't be able to challenge into turn 1. And now he's got to stick with Mulkey in the dirty air all over again. Meanwhile, a bit more of a scrap between Ivaslov and Tazio. Tazio did indeed get the place. Gonna have a replay of this one. Looked like the Alfa Romeo did get the run round the outside of turn 1. A little bit of contact. Got the move to stick in the end. The battle for 5th also heating up between Basalvo and Tombak. Very crucial as well, because Lamborghini and McLaren in the teams championship separated but not much. And it's McLaren with the 2 cars here today, so whether they can get result-wise from Basalvo will certainly go a long distance. As I thought we saw Tazio run a little bit wide a bit earlier, but no, it seems to be okay now. Heisenberger in a Citroen sandwich right now. They're a bit closer on this occasion to getting a run on Mulkey. They're still closing up. They go fastest of all. Purple lap by them. Will they be able to do anything? No. Still early days in the race. As Racing Pro is going again, but maybe they had some kind of anti-stall issue or something along those lines. It's difficult to say. Tombak managing the gap between them and Basalvo for now. Basalvo's still doing a good job to stick with them. Difference in compounds as well, with the softs being used by some, the likes of race leader, and mediums for some a bit further down. The top 3 so far all on the soft compound. Tombak the highest of the medium runners, so he'll be hoping to get into this race a bit further down the line. Basalvo will be losing a fair bit of their advantage while being stuck behind Tombak on the worst tyres. And here we see flash of the lights from Tombak as they make their way past our cameraman. Big up to Jack Wilkinson. Ivaslov runs a little bit wide. Just go wheel on the grass. Nothing too sketchy. Tazio does the same. They're starting to break away from Ivaslov. Indeed, they've broken out of the 1.3 second slipstream range. It looks like Basalvo might be lining something up here going into turn 1. We're going on board with them. Nothing as of yet. Oh. Heisenberger losing touch with Mulkey a bit now. Mulkey's broken away from the slipstream as Heisenberger goes wide, and that's allowing RPM to get a fantastic run as they plunge into the canyon again. Side by side they run just about. RPM's got the outside. Heisenberger covers them off but can't defend the inside as well. There's contact and Heisenberger runs wide. Will RPM give the position back for that one? We'll have to see. We're going to need a second look at this one, I think. Side by side, just about. Heisenberger again covers off. Was there contact? It's difficult to say. As into the pits they go. Indeed, looked like there might have been a very slight nudge. Nothing overly serious, so pit stop here for Heisenberger's McLaren. And it is a Citroen 1-2 once more. Tombak still on the mediums, doing a good job at the moment. They are still third. There's a bit of a train forming behind them though. The likes of Basalvo and Tazio, who's gained a fair bit of ground. Ivaslov as well in this train. Last lap was a 126.6. Compare that to Heisenberger's 125.0. It looks like Ivaslov might be able to get a bit of a run on the Alfa Romeo. They're going to send it down the inside, are they? It's going to be close. Not quite enough. Basalvo also looking quite racy at the moment. That McLaren has been looking very, very good in practice around this circuit. Other circuits perhaps haven't suited it quite as much. As that's very wide from Ivaslov. That is more than likely going to be a corner cut penalty for the Dutchman. Or not. Perhaps they haven't got them enabled for this race. Nevertheless, they did lose time anyway, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. Leinert in 7th at the moment in the Ferrari. Real Scorpions putting on a really good show actually. The Porsche's really not been that competitive throughout the season. However, they're managing to stick with Leinert. So good on them. Heisenberger down in 9th. Running a little bit wide themselves there. That might have been a very smidge amount of net code. And of course Racing Pro only just coming across the line after that mystery of what happened at the start. That could have even been some kind of hardware failure. Flashes the lights from them. Perhaps they're watching stream, perhaps they need to be watching where they're going. They outbrake themselves. They're on the Racing Hard compound. That's an interesting strategy. I don't think anyone else might be going for that. Now RPM is suffering from slightly worse tyre wear than their teammate. That'd be more than likely due to the heavier use of mechanical grip as they've been in the slipstream and the dirty air of other cars, while Mulkey has had a clean track to himself. As the train continues to develop, in fact, Basalvo really close to challenging Tombak. Tazio still ahead of Ivaslov. Oh, down the inside, will they go? No, not quite. Or will they? Actually, on exit, Basalvo manages to carry a little bit more speed. Are they going to try a little bit of a cheeky cutback through here? Very difficult to do so with the banking. It's going to be a run down into the canyon, I think. Hard on the brakes. Or are they a bit too far back? Now Tazio's really managed to gap Ivaslov. Ivaslov might have made a mistake. Slight clip of the gravel. Oh, Tazio runs a little bit wide there as well. And they go again. Just getting onto the curbstone. You can see how they're driving on the absolute limit of grip. As we're going to go on board. Thank you, camera, again. Camera's messing up, apologies. In the slipstream, even in the slipstream, it looks like the Lamborghini has a slight advantage on the straights compared to the McLaren, which is interesting given I think the Lamborghini would have better acceleration as well given its four-wheel drive. Nevertheless, McLaren still managing to keep up at the moment, braking as they make their way into the uphill section and into the banking. Look at the kind of speed they can carry through here. 72 miles an hour, the lowest it dropped to. Again, the elevation change really being shown off here. Plenty of different strategies playing out as well. Tombox, one of the most interesting. Look at the kind of tyre wear that they're able to manage compared to the softs. Perhaps going for one less stop. It's going to be difficult for the McLaren again to get a run, as it's pretty much a stalemate with the McLaren in the slipstream of the Lamborghini. We're going to check out some of the other battles a bit further down the order. Tazio in 6th, pretty much by themselves, as is Iverslav. Heisenberg has actually managed to get past Real Scorpions. We'll see if we can get that. Yep, down the inside through this section. Very, very brave stuff of Real Scorpions to stay on the outside for as long as they did. But the position gained, and Real Scorpions actually goes wide. And now Heisenberger hunting down the Ferrari. On board again with the McLaren. Just clipping the grass there, Leinert a bit unsettled perhaps. Will Heisenberg be able to go down the inside here, get a better run? They're going to go for the outside line.com. And a fantastic move. The banking really helping to make that kind of a move stick. Banking's always encouraged moves around the outside. Glad to see another fantastic pass there. Look at the backfire from the exhaust of the McLaren. That was fantastic to see in these darkened conditions. I think Heisenberger is starting to get away, as that is a spin for Leinert. And very close, if it wasn't for the ghosting, to a collision with Real Scorpions there. We're going to have a replay of this one on board with the chase cam right now. You can see the tyres really worn. Was it just a bit of oversteer beforehand, or no, it was just running a smidge too wide and the gravel looped it round quite easily. He's going to have to refocus and get going again. Perhaps he's making a pit stop at this stage. Indeed he is. Hello to David Johnson in the chat. Nice for you to be joining us. Out the pits comes Leinert. Back to our cameras here. Actually, not too far behind Real Scorpions. Real Scorpions... yes, they also made a pit stop. That would make sense. Onto a new set of racing softs. Heisenberger, because of that, 22 seconds up the road from those guys. 11 seconds to go to catch Iverslav. RPM goes into the pits, so first of the Citroens to come in. Interesting that it's the car in second place, so perhaps an undercut on their teammate is on the cards. Out the pits they come. Fantastic noise again, and that is Iverslav coming up. So Tombach has managed to get in the middle of these guys, and he is on a different strategy in that Lamborghini. The tyre wear's so good at the moment. Then again, Mulkey's managing to take care of his tyres quite well as well. Interesting note about Gran Turismo Sport actually, wheel users, because of the inputs they use being smoother, generally have an advantage when it comes to tyre wear, as that was extremely close with the wall, that tyre barrier, as they went down through the canyon. Racing Pro, the lap traffic, it would seem they're just staying ghosted, whether that's because they're paused or because of flag rules. Difficult to say. Definitely flag rules, I think. That Mazda, since the start, is not really being able to get going much. Best lap of 129.7. It's a fair bit off the pace even of the Ferrari that is in 9th at the moment. Who's actually closing up a bit, I think, on Real Scorpions. Yet the gap's down to 2 seconds. It was around 3. So the gap's coming down between those guys. Tazio, meanwhile, having a scrap with Basalvo, as I think they both might have pitted as well. Indeed, that makes sense, given the fresh tyres. Side by side they go, and I think it's going to be Tazio on the brakes. Yep. Oh, and there's a contact, and that is Tazio round. What on earth happened there? It just seemed like the wheel got caught on the inside curb. We're gonna have to see this one again. On board with Tazio. I do think it's very easy to do. If you go over that curb, because it's so narrow, you can get caught and then it just sends the car into a spin. Oh, such an easy mistake to make. I know, I've made it so many times myself. Let's put Tazio 7 seconds behind Basalvo now. I've got to make that up all again. Heisenberger. Just noticed they're actually on the racing hards. So, they're planning for quite a long stint here, although the fuel is quite a limiting factor, looking at how much is left in the tank. Unless they're planning to double stint these tyres, but we'll have to see. We're getting closer to the half race distance marker actually, so we've seen plenty of action so far. It seems to have flown by quite quick. Tombak's still doing a really good job on those mediums, really extending the stint. They're going to be aiming for the 15 lap mark, I think. There or thereabouts, putting another set of mediums on, I think, and making it on a 1 stop, whereas I think Heisenberger, or possibly not Heisenberger now, but on fuel, entirely possible they'll have to make another stop, a splash and dash perhaps. You can also see RPM really closing up, but the Citroens have gone for a really aggressive soft to soft strategy. I think Mulkey is staying out, are they? Yep. So Mulkey's going to be losing quite a lot of time to their teammate here, as they actually right on the limits of the track limits there. 2 wheels still on the curb, although the game says otherwise. Perhaps it was just the camera. They actually set the fastest lap of the race, a 124.835 in the slipstream of Tombak. They're going to try the outside, are they? They're ghosted, they're inside each other because of the ghosting. The unghost happens now. And the ghosting really helped RPM out there. They managed to get the pass to stick. Now will Tombak, on the mediums, the worn mediums mind you, be able to keep up? They'll have slipstream, but they'll also have dirty air, and that's the point of the circuit that you really do not want to have another car ahead of you. And already RPM, a 1 second gap. These Citroen drivers are very, very impressive. Ivaslov, meanwhile, still in 4th at the moment, pretty much by themselves, besides Racing Pro, who they just lapped. Honda doing quite well for itself. It's one of Ivaslov's better drives, I'd say. They didn't have the greatest of times last time out, but this time, a really good job so far. Again, they're on the medium strategy, so they're trying to go for the half race distance marker. Speaking of medium runners, Tombak into the pits. This might be fuel limited, that they didn't go to 15 laps. So they might have to save a bit of fuel in the second stint if that is the case, if the Lamborghini's quite thirsty of an engine at the back. I believe it shares the engine with the Audi R8, does that Lamborghini. Certainly the race car does. the I say race car, I mean the GT3 version, as they rejoin in 5th, just behind Basalvo. And Basalvo has made a pit stop already, although they are on softs. So perhaps Tombok on mediums and Basalvo on softs is around similar-ish pace. We'll have to see. Still Ghosted is racing pro. Tazio, here we see them on a bit of an island at the moment, although they are making ground on Tombok. As race leader Molky into the pits, so they're actually going for a one stop but on the softs. So that could be quite an interesting but risky strategy on their part. I believe RPM's already gone past, haven't they? They have. RPM goes into the lead of this race. There's going to be a full tank for Molky. Fresh tyres and out they go. Perhaps it was just like a short fuel stint, that last pit stop for RPM. That would explain why they got less in the tank, and that would explain how they managed to gain 14 seconds on their teammate. Not only that, they did have quite an undercut. Heisenberger, after making that quite early pit stop, now finds themselves back in 3rd, with their teammate Basalvo 4th. That's looking quite strong for them to take the fight to Lamborghini in the team championship, although Heisenberger will be due a pit stop very soon for fuel. They'll probably end up double stinting the tyres to the end. It'll probably be a full tank from here again, as we saw from Molky. Oh, just a slight clip of the gravel. That could bring some gravel onto the circuit actually and make a bit of a slippy situation for the drivers behind. Marbles already building up, as we have indeed passed the halfway marker by quite a while now. Just a run through of the order again. Is RPM now our race leader. We believe due another pit stop due to the fuel. Heisenberger in again actually. That will be because of their fuel. Now will they take new tyres or not? We'll have to see. But Molky is in 2nd. Basalvo 3rd. Tombok 4th. Tazio 5th. Where's Heisenberger going to rejoin? Is this just for fuel? I think Liner's just gone past in the Ferrari. No. That's an interesting call. I don't believe running a hard compound is mandatory, so... I mean, it certainly hasn't been the case in the last few races. We haven't even seen the hard compound in use. So, Heisenberg opting for fresher tyres, perhaps just a change of strategy. Not taking the hards to the end. Makes you think they could have used mediums instead of the hards. Another set, since it was going to be a shorter distance, but nevertheless, onwards we go. As Liner gets very sideways through there. We're going to have a replay of that one, Chief. This was going through the banked hairpin. Was carrying a smidge too much speed. Very close to looping it again, but saves it. Side by side they go. Looks like they're just going to let Heisenberger go through. You could tell on the inputs. Just looking at the car's body language, it was just letting Heisenberger get on with it. Leinard still, I think, are they on the same tyres they were at the start? They might well be. Onto the grass they go. A bit more of a slide. Those tyres are very much shot on the Ferrari. Surely they're going to have to come into the pits. It might actually be a second stop. No, they're staying out. That's an interesting call, because if they do make another mistake on these worn tyres, then that puts them at risk from the likes of Real Scorpions, who's only 8.6 seconds behind in that Porsche. They're currently in 9th place. at this stage in the race. The gap 14.1 seconds between Mulkey and RPM, with Mulkey on the fresher compound. So in about 3 or 4 laps, I think, RPM's going to have to pit again, probably fresh softs, and a very slight amount of fuel just to get him to the end. But he's going to need to do his best to keep that 14-second gap as high as he can, and it's just gone into the 13-second region, 13.9. Still an extremely dominant display by the Citroens. Tom Buck seems to be catching Basalvo a little bit. Who was on about this? The gap is coming down. Heisenberger goes into the pits again. That's an interesting call, actually. They only recently changed onto the mediums only a couple laps ago. Now what's this? Did they still not make it on fuel calculations? They're onto the softs now. They're behind real Scorpions. This is a really odd display from the WRL McLaren team. Pretty much just trying on every single compound. It's like going into a shoe shop and demanding every single size. Very odd behavior, but nevertheless, they might know something we don't. Now going on to the main straight again. Tombok, the wedge-shaped Lamborghini behind Basalvo, who we're watching now. So the Lamborghini will be very effective in slipstream. You'd think. The gap coming down. It is down to around 0.5 of a second, up to 6 again, as they make their way to the apex. It is still medium versus soft. Basalvo's soft tyres, they're looking a little bit worn. Liner does indeed go into the pits, wisely so. Perhaps they were just pitting every 10 laps exactly. That would explain that pit strategy. Very conservative if that's the case. Here they are. They're also fuel limited as well, but they should be fine to go to the end if they fuel up to max. In fact, they do 3/4 of a tank. They come up behind Racing Pro, although they are a lap down, so they actually come out in 8th. Real Scorpions also making a pit stop. They're on the softs as well. They also fuel up to around the same amount, so the calculator's looking very similar, and that behind is Mulkey, who has retaken the lead of this race because RPM has made their pit stop onto a fresh set of softs to go to the end. Tazio into the pits, Basalvo into the pits. It's all happening. It's going to be battle of pit crews. Fuel going into the McLaren. Same for the Alfa Romeo. Who's going to get the jump on the other? I think Tazio might just be ahead. Yep, there you see it. Tazio 5th, Basalvo 6th, Ivaslov back to 4th. Ivaslov again back to 4th again, but they've actually gone a bit under the radar on that last little stint because they are on relatively okay-ish tyres, perhaps a bit risky to take them to the end, but they should be good enough, and they're certainly fueled for the end, so that shouldn't be an issue either. So again, that 4th place is looking quite strong for Ivaslov. Tombok still looking a very strong 3rd. Pretty much just by themselves at this point. importantly for the Lamborghini crew, having one car in the championship, or rather in this race, of course Squad not here today, but that means that they're ahead of both McLarens, meaning they're going to score more points on an individual basis than a McLaren car. It gives the Lamborghini team as good of a chance as they can get. And with Iverslov in 4th as well, that's only going to help matters. Heisenberger still down in 7th. They'll be going to the end surely, but so will Tazio. So Heisenberger really messed up the strategy with that extra start. Now, will Tazio be able to catch Basalvo? Basalvo's gone really careful with the fuel. As I think actually, as soon as I say that, Tazio makes another mistake at turn 1 that allows Heisenberger to go through. We're gonna have another replay of this. Is it the same mistake again? Watch the left side wheels. Do they go over the inside curve? They do. And again, that just unsettles the car. Into the wall they go. And Heisenberger, see you later. So that is extremely unfortunate again for Tazio. Same mistake twice in this race, as I think... Who was that going into the pits? Well, it looked like someone went into the pit lane momentarily. It might have been Racing Pro. It was Racing Pro. It says they're on an outlap, so that would explain it. So the Mazda going again. I think they're several laps down at this point. Yep, 2 laps down. Eight seconds the gap between Mulkey and RPM. And that's the gap we need to watch. Mulkey's tyres starting to go off a little bit. RPM in a little bit of traffic from Real Scorpions. Again, the traffic is ghosted, so that certainly helps them. Down the straight they go again. Won't be getting any slipstream assist from the Porsche. The gap has come down to 7.3 seconds between them and Mulkey. So RPM is actually looking very strong as we're coming into the final quarter of the race. We're on lap 24 of 30 here at Sardegna Raceway, the B layout. If you're enjoying the stream so far, please be sure to leave us a like, and be sure to message us in chat as well if you're enjoying, and consider subscribing, of course, for future content on the World Racing League YouTube channel. But so far in this Citroen battle of strategy, Mulkey in first, RPM second, but RPM is reeling them in at what appears to be over a second a lap. Now if they keep that kind of pace up, looking at the lap count, they should be right with Mulkey at the end, and Mulkey's tyres are only just going to continue getting worse and worse and worse. Oh, nearly faking into the pits there from Mulkey. That was interesting. Perhaps just a last minute decision, thinking that they're actually just going to stay out, see how it goes, rather than be the chaser. The gap within 6 seconds now, 5.9. Gonna check up on some of the other cars. Tom Buck, 28 seconds down on RPM, 34 down on Mulkey. Still quite a bit ahead of Iverslov, but Iverslov reeling them in a little bit. Iverslov on the softer compound tyre wear, around the same on the two cars, but should be a bit quicker on Iverslov's rubber. Basalvo best of the McLarens at this stage. That's quite interesting. We did see him before, I believe, but they were quite outshone by Heisenberg, if my memory serves me right. So nice to see Basalvo getting their chance to shine. They're in the top 5 at the moment. Teammate Heisenberger in 6th on more worn tyres again. This is why I would have just stuck with the mediums rather than go for the extra stop, because there's still 5 laps to go for Heisenberger, and these tyres are already going slightly wayward. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to catch up to their teammate. Nevertheless, a 5th and a 6th result. It's going to be close to work out the championship standings, actually, with Tombok in the Lamborghini getting 3rd, if things stay as they are at the moment. Of course, plenty of things can still shuffle the order around. Tazio, in fact, could get involved here because of Heisenberger's tyres wearing as fast as they are. That Alfa Romeo could come into the mix, perhaps take away that 6th place. That's another gap we're going to have to monitor. Making the way through the flick onto the straight. Leinard again, over 10 seconds either way of them. Although I think that's Racing Pro behind them, who's just being... Oh wait, no, they're getting blue flags, so that has to be Mulkey. Indeed it is. So Leinard, unfortunately, about to go a lap down, it would seem, and not overly long. Real Scorpions already a lap down. There they are in that Porsche. The fantastic colours of the Gulf sponsorship on that car, and the rich energy with the blue rims. That's an interesting combination. Just letting Basalvo go by, it would seem. Still ghosted, although not paused because the hazard lights are not on. It's an automatic trait. Mulkey, and there's the gap, actually, you can see it between them and RPM. It has come down to 3.2 seconds with around 3.2 laps to go. So, yep, a second a lap is what RPM needs. But then again, it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass. Mulkey does have a bit of traffic, but on the upcoming straight, that could aid them, getting some much needed slipstream. And I think that might be happening. Could be wrong. They are ghosted, but I think the slipstream physics do work slightly. Liner gets a 0.5 second penalty, probably for cutting a little flick. Mulkey weaving slightly on the straight. That's trying to put himself in Liner's mirrors so he can sort of say, hurry up and get out of the way. Come on, blue flags, as a certain Vettel once said. So that flash of the lights as well from the Citroen. Might well have been, or it could have just been going through the ghost there. My apologies for not quite picking up on that. Down the inside they go of Leinard. Those tyres looking very, very worn, especially that front right, as we see on our graphic. Certainly takes a pounding through that braking zone. Slight clip of the gravel. Bit of a slide from RPM as well. Let's monitor the tyre wear between the two. There you can see it's mainly on that right hand side that takes a battering here. Of course it is a anti-clockwise circuit. As there's yellow flags, that is Leinard. We're gonna have to see that one again, Chief. What happened to them? We're gonna go on board here. The chase cam just running a bit wide. And the car, as you try and get onto this tarmac again, you have to be very delicate with how much lock you put in, otherwise the car will step out like that. You have to rejoin in a very delicate manner. Just didn't quite work out for Leonard on that occasion. Probably gave RPM a bit of a scare. 2.3 seconds the gap, with 2 laps to go. It's looking more and more likely that it's going to be in Mulkey's favour here. Again, slipstream could completely mess up the equation. It's going to be a close one, that's for sure. But by my calculations anyway, I think Mulkey might just be able to hold on. It's going to be down to perhaps whether RPM can get the tenths he needs to get into the slipstream on the straight this upcoming time, which I don't quite think they're going to be able to do. I think RPM has suffered from slightly worse tyre wear than Mulkey. That might be if they're on a dual shock compared to a wheel. It might be that kind of an effect. And indeed they're 2 seconds of the gap as they're on the straight. No slipstream advantages at all, rather. And the last lap we go, Mulkey still just about holding on. Will they be able to make it on fuel? Again, it's going to be tight. RPM certainly will. The fuel warning light is on with Mulkey's car. We're going to go for rear wing cam. As look how much RPM's managed to close up in the first sector alone. Well within slipstream range now. They might be able to make a move as they plunge into the canyon. It's going to be tight. You see the bright blue machine looming in the background. Mulkey's tyres seem to have hit a cliff on this lap. RPM closes up again. Mulkey just about holds on. It's going to be a drag race to the line by the looks of things. It's going to be so close. The understeer on Mulkey's car. You can see the door being left open. RPM trying his best to find a way. And he just about does this side by side. Into the final corner. RPM takes it. Will the slipstream be able to get Mulkey back ahead? I don't think it will. It's going to be RPM taking the win at the final corner of the final lap. What a fantastic drive by them. I wrote that chance off a lap before. How wrong I was. A fantastic drive by them. This result very much securing Citroën Team Scotland at the top of the Teams Championship. Was of course Mulkey taking the championship last time out, but RPM can be very happy with that performance indeed. Tombok, they are on the start-finish straight now. They're about to come across the line for an impressive third. Couldn't match the pace of the Citroens today, running it very close on fuel as well, looking at that. But nevertheless, solid result. Just what the team needs for the Teams Championship. It's going to be Iverslov with a fantastic result of 4th for the Dutchman. Great result for them in the Honda. DeSalvo beats their teammate Heisenberger 5th and 6th respectively. As Heisenberger slows down, that's not because they're out of fuel, that's just to probably take better photographs or something if they come across the line. Tazio in the background they see in 7th. They're going to be the last car to finish on the lead lap. Fantastic spin by them as they come across the line. Here are your results then. Just about to come up on screen, I believe. Just a little bit of time to go, but it was Leonard finishing 8th, Real Scorpions 9th, and 10th for Racing Pro. Victory in the end though goes to this guy, RPM 8603, fastest lap of the race as well. What a fantastic finale, right down to the wire in the end. 4/10 of a second separating first from second. Another Citroën Team Scotland 1-2 finish, absolutely dominant throughout this season with the two drivers there. Fantastic show by them. Tom Bach finishing third, 38 seconds adrift, nearly 39 seconds adrift off of the Citroens, with Ivaslov fantastic fourth in the NSX, 52 seconds back. Basalvo fifth, as we said, and sixth for Heisenberger. So the McLarens not doing as well as they would have hoped compared to their Lamborghini rival, but perhaps the combined effort of having two cars instead of one would still give them that championship, or that second place in the team's championship rather. Of course, Citroen Team Scotland very much securing that now, with Tazio and the 4C last to finish on the lead lap. They came home a minute and 17 seconds down, nearly a minute 18, but nevertheless, fantastic show by them. They've been another strong contender throughout the season, especially earlier on in the season, I recall correctly. I think there may have been around at Largo Maggiore that they were quite good at. Don't quote me on that. It has been quite a while. And Leonard 8th, in the end a lap down. Real Scorpions 9th, also a lap down. Racing Pro, again, bit of an odd issue at the start of the race. Couldn't get off the line properly, or they had some kind of mechanical issue or electrical issue, but they seemed to get that sorted in the end. But they still unfortunately finished 2 laps down. Fastest lap of the race, a 1:24.792, set by RPM. Lap 22, fantastic. Again, to see the pace of that car, it is truly staggering. So I hope you have all enjoyed this race here today at Sardegna Raceway. I certainly have. Be sure to join us for more on the WRL channel going forward. I'm not 100% sure whether I will be around for much else, unfortunately, due to many other commitments, but thanks again to the likes of Heisenberger and to I think it was Rappy the Pro, or hold on, I'll allow myself to quick who, again, unfortunately not here today, but thanks for giving me this fantastic opportunity to be here for the season. I've certainly enjoyed it. Hope you have too. From all of us here at Sardegna Raceway, part of the WRL crew, I have been Nukeshot Zokyo. This has been WRL Group 4, and we hope to see you sometime in the future for different series. Until then, goodbye.